Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the show. We are here today with Mr. Maurice Myers. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I finally got you on here. We've been, yeah,
Talking for a while. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But I gotta say, just to start, like, I love your videos. You're always coming in, especially on TikTok, is kind of where I like see you the most. But it's always
hmm
good vibes, good energy. You're giving like just good advice to keep authors inspired along this journey. You know what I mean?
hmm That's really the goal. I feel like it's real. It can get really morbid sometimes with people's, experiences in writing and, becoming an author or what the author journey is. So sometimes it's like, hey, here's a little bit of sunshine in the middle of all the you're doing this wrong, you know?
Yeah, because like everywhere you look, you're either seeing authors who are kind of complaining that it's not going well, or you're seeing a couple people who really made it, and you're like, damn, like how do I get from here to there? But either way, it can give you big feelings. You know what I mean?
Yes. Each
Yeah,
time. Yep.
yeah, for sure. So, like in terms of the advice you give, is that kind of like also the same things you're telling yourself, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna remind myself, and I'm gonna make a video too, remind everybody else at the same time.
Literally every day, every video you seen is something that I had to tell myself either that day or some. It was a conversation I had that week, but it's all things that I know myself I need to hear at some point. I hope it doesn't sound very vain, but sometimes I'll listen to myself the old videos because I need them sometimes, and I know where I'm gonna find the advice. It's on my page, so I go back and I say, okay, you're right. Let's just go from here. So.
No, I feel that 100%. Honestly, like yeah, sometimes I'll watch my own videos too, and I'm like, damn, I need to take my own advice sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I get that. Yeah.
Oh man, how long you been doing this for?
The videos or the writing?
Writing in particular.
Okay, so writing, I feel like I've been doing that my whole life.
Yeah.
I started with poetry. That was my way in. But when I was younger, I used to write horror stories. In middle school, I would have like composition notebooks full of a horror story. I went to Catholic school, so that the killer was always the devil. But
Okay, I was gonna say the killer was always a nun with a ruler or something.
yeah, it's always something extremes, but it's the devil.
Right.
So I learned
Yep.
from there to kind of how I learned how to shape stories through there, or what kind of stories I even wanted to write.
Right.
And through there, I between poetry and that, it kind of pushed me. And I didn't think about being an author for a very long time afterwards. I
Yeah.
went to school to be on the radio, and I wanted to do that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
um, I got pushed by a friend, one of my writing partner, my brother. He pushed me to put out my first book, the Experiment, a poetry book.
Cool. Cool.
So yeah, and from there, I released that in 2020. So from there, I've been from 2020 on, I've just been putting out books and just trying to figure out what this author life is like.
I love it. So you said your brother's an author too?
Well, he's my best friend. We met in college, but yes, he is an author. He and I wrote this book, Finders Keepers: The Age of Apophis, together. So.
Cool. Yeah, so I know what you mean by like brother though, just like I don't know, sometimes you got these like friends who are like, man, it's like it's beyond just a friendship. Like, no, this is really like this is my brother. I'd go to bat for this person. I'd get in a bar,
Yes.
yeah, get shot for this dude.
Anything, right?
Right.
That's his
No.
family. That was the
Ah,
first person I've ever like went to the hospital to go hold their baby that was newborn. So,
mm,
that's all of that.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. I have to imagine it has to help to have like a best friend who's also a writer and you can kind of like hype each other up or learn from one another on this journey and not just kind of going solo, you know what I mean?
Definitely, like especially because we do fantasy together.
Right.
Um, I watch so many. Like I try to tell people, like my advice about fantasy comes from like a place of privilege where I'm not doing it by myself. So
Right.
I have somebody where we're making this magic system together. Like we're creating this fake world together, and I can talk to somebody about this fake world for hours, and they know exactly what's going on. So
Right.
it definitely helps.
I've always been impressed with like the fantasy writers in particular, just with the whole world building thing. I mean, even just coming up with the names of things and they have to be new but not ridiculous and not too hard to pronounce. And
Right.
I don't know, like sometimes you read like, Tolkien or something and you're like, God, like what is in this guy's head? Like
Right.
where did all this come from? You know what I mean?
Definitely. I think that's the scary. It was very scary to think like, okay, I can just do whatever I want All
Yeah.
right, well, let's do that. But then when you start thinking like, okay, I can do what I want, but this is not just for me. This is for other people. So they need to be able to understand what it is that I'm saying. It needs to have continuity. It
Right.
just needs to make sense.
You know, you touched on something that I think is really important. Like, and I try to keep this in mind when I'm writing, that it's like not just about me. And I think that's where a lot of authors go wrong, is having this grandiose vision of just being a bestseller and the money they're going to make. And but like at the end of the day, like it's got to connect, right? It's about the people reading it, and then the reward is book sales and cash. But it's got to be something that creates value, enough value for society that they pay you to do this full time. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And I think that's the main thing for me is at first I wanted to write books. Just I wanted to just put out a book to say I did it. Like I'm an author, you know. This is what I
Right.
did in my life. I'm great. And as time went on, it's like, oh wait a minute, this is now I have bigger goals. Now it's like, okay, I might want to be on a New York Times bestseller. I didn't think about that at one point. How do
Right.
you get there? You have to think about all the things that authors think about and how they view the world around them. So. Gaining that insight is something that was like, all right, well, you know what? From here, I need to start doing it like this, and not so much in a robotic way where it's like follow the rules and follow the customs. It was more like just
Yeah.
okay, well, this worked for this person. Let me see what they did and maybe why they did that. You know?
Yeah. So you're talking like in terms of like modeling what you're doing off of what other authors are doing, or kind of like you like their journey, and you're kind of like, if you could kind of elaborate on that a little bit.
Oh yes, definitely. Like, because every author's journey is different. You know, that's something I say
Right.
on the website, and I had no idea of that. I thought it was kind of like one of those situations where you write the book, you put it out, and then we all go through this. You know, we're trying to be published traditionally.
Right.
That's what I thought the process was. You know, and all you
Right.
had to do is really just put out a good book, and they'll find it, and you'll be good to go. And that's not true at all.
That's
You
just the
know.
starting place. Yeah.
No, you got
Yeah.
to. I look at it like when I write books now, it's helping to just improve the my legacy, my lineage, my legacy, of course, but also
Right.
like the worlds that we're building in these stories.
Yeah.
That's the main thing now. It helps to make what I say mean something to the people because it's like, oh, he wrote a book, so but overall, I think the goals of like what I want to do with being an author and what type of author I want to be comes down to who I am,
Right.
and how do people perceive me from here.
Yeah. That is the thing, and I try to. This is one of these things I remind myself, like at any given moment, regardless of sales, like, are you proud of what you've made here?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Give me
Definitely.
1 second. My cat is screaming at me. I'm gonna
You
go.
do exactly what you need to do, man. It's all good.
I'm gonna throw him out the window real quick.
Oh man, it sounded like it.
Oh man! All right, hold on. I had to turn the camera off because this one follows.
It's
Too
all good.
smart
I know
for
the
too
vibe.
smart for its own good. Oh, now it's. Oh, okay. Now it's confused about where I am.
I can see you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's. I don't know this technology. It's smart, but it ain't that smart.
every day.
So picking your brain philosophically, okay?
Okay.
Because I want to ask you two questions. I want to ask you the first one is going to be like, okay, for people who are starting out, because I feel like, okay, like if you wrote a book and you haven't published it yet, and you get on TikTok and you're like, all right, I'm going to start building up a audience. I'm going to work with some other authors. It's a very, very smart thing to do. But you start talking to authors and you see like what a long road it is. And sometimes there's a certain like ignorance with being a teenager, like a teenage boy, where you think anything's possible. And if
Yep.
you knew how difficult something it would be, you might not do it. So
Mhm.
not to discourage anybody, but like what advice would you give someone who's, if their profile says aspiring author or they got a work in progress? Like what would you tell them?
Realistically, I would tell them know what you want to do
Hmm.
and understand that you are now a brand. There
Mm.
are people who write just to write. You
Right.
don't have to put out a book if you just want to write good stories to yourself. Like you can just write the stories. But if you're going to take this journey and being an author, just decide what kind of author you want to be before you jump into the game, because you can easily decide. I like writing books. I built a little community, maybe 10, 15 people, a couple book clubs,
Yeah.
and I'm good with that. And that's success. You did it. You did what you wanted to do.
Right.
Um, if you're in the mindset of I want to be New York Times bestseller, you're just gonna have to understand the road that comes with that and what success will look like at different times, and making sure you have a goal for when that may end. Like when you might get the
Yeah.
New York Times bestseller, what's next? So
Right. And then what, you know? Yeah.
yep. So that would be my advice. Just figure out what type of author it is you want to be, and be open to change, because you might walk in wanting one thing, and once you get in the game, you're like, oh, I want this. So.
Yeah. No, that's really solid advice. I mean, that is a good point about just defining what success actually means in your mind.
Mhm.
You know, like if your goalpost is like I'm going to be the next Colleen Hoover, Stephen King, whatever it may be, like okay, buddy, you know, you got a
Step
bit
in.
of a long road here. You better get writing, better find an agent, you better find someone who does all the marketing, and you just stay focused on cranking out stories.
So right.
But
Yep.
you know, if your goal is just like I'm going to make a positive impact, or you know, I'm going to write things that I would read, and I'm just going to have faith that like I'm not the only one who'd want to read this, and like
Mhm.
there's an audience out there. God's going to connect this book with whoever's supposed to read it. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
the things I can't see aren't even my business.
Yep.
We're just going to walk this journey and just have faith in it. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally.
What would you say to a discouraged author who may be watching this? Because we have good and bad. We have a lot of ups and downs in this game. You know, like
Definitely.
someone makes a video about your book, you're all hyped up. The next day, you get like a bad review over something stupid, or you check your Amazon thing and there's no action, and you're like, "Damn, I should go do Uber Eats or something."
Listen. Oh man, that's so honest. That's so real.
Oh, dude, I just got back from Uber Eats. Like
I
right
get it
before the
though.
show, man. I was out chucking Burger King, dude.
Listen.
Yeah.
No, realistically, it's a way. It's a roller coaster. Some days are really great. Some days are really horrible. Short story. Last year, May, I quit my job so that I could be a full time author. I
Nice.
wanted to do it. I wanted to step into the world of just writing. So I was writing. I did book signings. I did book signings in different states with my bro, and like, we went out shopping our book around, getting them in libraries. There was so much to it. The one thing there wasn't was any money. Okay. So there were a lot of days that were very rough, and a lot of days that felt like I don't think this is for me. It shouldn't feel this hard to be doing something that I love and that loves me
Right.
back. So basically, I would tell anybody like who's feeling discouraged, that's part of the process. To finish out that story, I got another job back in January, but I went from May to January not working, depending everything on the art,
Yeah.
and it was chaotic. It was. I'm grateful. I grew a platform in that time. I've
Yeah.
gotten so many connections. It was beautiful, but it felt like hell. It was like one of the worst experiences ever.
It's
Um,
scary, right? I mean,
Yes, it's scary to
yeah.
leave. It's scary to not know where your money's coming from. I live on my own, so it's like, how are the bills going to get paid? That kind of
Right.
thing. But
But you got
anybody,
through.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you got through, you know, you made it, whatever it is, 8 months. I
Right.
mean, like,
and
we did
and
it.
that's the main thing for anybody that's discouraged, is you're gonna have those times where you are lower than low and you don't know what's next. Honestly, just keep staying, just keep living and doing the thing, and I promise you there's gonna be a turnaround. I can't tell people when, like, oh, in 2 months you'll be great. No, but truthfully, if you're just consistent enough and you say, okay, this is my dream, this is what I want to do, one, people will be willing to help you,
Yeah.
and two, you're gonna get further than you even thought you could get.
Yeah. God, that makes me think so much. There's a video I got to make about the Scalpy Inuits. They're like these Eskimos who live in the Labrador Peninsula.
Mhm.
And just like a quick backstory, these people on average meet 30 human beings in their entire life. Like imagine if the only people you ever met are like your first grade class, and like
God.
your spouse is going to come out of there. Like two of those people are your parents, you know, like three of them
God.
are your siblings. No, but it's the thing is, it's so cold. Like
Mhm.
there's no food. It's the most difficult place on earth to live. Like you and I would be dead within 3 days. Like almost everyone would die within a couple days. Like by the
Gotcha.
time you built the shelter, you're like, oh, I have no idea how to thaw water, how to find food. Like imagine you come out of your igloo in the morning and you look in all directions and all you see is ice. And there's like, okay, where do I go find food today? Because I don't see anything except ice in every direction.
Oh man.
They have lived this way for thousands of years with a personal religion they call the great man.
Mm.
And it's like they believe there's like a little spirit that lives in you and it
Hmm.
whispers to you. And the more you listen, the louder it gets. And it tells you where to hunt, but also like who to invite into your home, who to share food with, how to speak to people. And to me, and they've lived like any given moment, they're days away from starving to death, right?
Uh-huh.
But somehow they have survived this way for thousands of years, just leaning on this Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And I'm like, for me, I'm like, so one of my big things is I hate the uncertainty, right? Like I got
Mm.
a mortgage, I got a wife, got a young son, and I'm like,
Yep.
damn, I'm looking at the book sales and I was like, we kind of need this to buy groceries.
I got you.
But the truth is like if you step out in uncharted waters, I'm like, your supply isn't the books. It's not like your supply really is
Yep.
coming from up high. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, it takes a lot of faith. Like I wrestle with that daily. That I'm like, and despite all the uncertainty, I don't need to know a month from now, even a day from now. Like we're gonna take the steps we can see right at this moment.
Definitely. That's
Yeah,
deep. I think about it definitely when I was in a state of not working and focusing straight basically on being an author.
yeah,
Everything was about something that I just couldn't see. It had to come from somewhere that wasn't me
right.
because all I could do was the job. I had to write the book. I had to do that. But the people who were going to read it, the connections, the people that were going to actually reach out to me and say, "Hey, come read your book here." That had
Yeah.
to come from somewhere beyond me because I couldn't make it all happen.
Right, like you can only do what you can do, but some of these things that are beyond you, like I don't know, these opportunities come in, these people find you, you get connected with who you need to know, and somehow you did this for 8 months, despite like probably having no idea
Yep.
how the hell, like, how are we going to eat? How are we going to pay the bills? Yeah,
Those were all the questions. Like, and it's very hard to be creative when you're focusing on your basic needs. It's
right.
no food is in the refrigerator, or there's gonna be food, but it's in 2 days, so you're gonna have to starve for 2 days. That's hard to say. Well, let me get back in this fantasy world where they live lavish and they're eating good. It's
It's so
weird.
separated from like your actual real life experience. I go back and forth on this, right? Because you see this a lot of times, especially with musicians.
Hmm.
They come into some money and then they lose their fire.
Yep.
But at the same time, you're like, God, like it's really hard to write on an empty stomach when you're seeing cross-eyed and you're seeing two of every
Right.
line, and you're like, God, I'm so hungry. Like I can't
Yeah.
write, I can't think, I can't write, sleep deprived.
Literally,
Oh,
like, what am I gonna do? And then your self-esteem,
yeah,
that's one of the biggest. How you feel about yourself will determine if you even write that day. It's
right.
like it's all part of the grand scheme in my mind. Like I don't
Yeah.
have the answers to the afterlife, but I do believe that the spirits and people that I've, grown to love who are no longer here are just guiding me through. Like, you
Yeah.
got this, Maurice. Just keep going.
That actually raises an interesting question. So, like your social media profile, your Amazon profile, it's got a picture of you on a stage reading reading one of your books to an audience, presumably.
Hmm.
How do you bring that confidence when you feel like your personal life is in shambles or there's uncertainty, right? Like, how do you get up on a stage and bring the best to yourself when you're like, damn, low key, I feel like I'm kind of falling apart?
um, the honest answer, you fake it. um, that's really it. I can't speak for anyone else. I would say for
Yeah.
me, I have two very headstrong social parents.
Okay.
They can talk to any stranger in the world.
Okay.
So it's fairly easy for me to get up and talk to people and talk to strangers. That's not the problem. But like you stated, when I'm not feeling my best and this is my book signing and everyone's here to see me and I'm excited that they're here, but all I'm worrying about is, okay, when I get home, what do I have for dinner again? All right, I have
Right.
to have one pack of chicken. How do I like that kind of stuff?
How
It's
do we
like,
stretch that? Yeah.
yeah, like what do we do here?
Oh.
when that's happening and you're in that mode, it is hard. But honestly, it's to me, a book signing, that was the greatest day of my life.
Oh yeah.
Being in front of all those people, I don't have kids, so I'm not hurting anyone's feelings. But I don't like that was the greatest day of my life. So it was a bit easier each time because I've done, oh, I think four at this point. Each time I've
Yeah.
done them where I had to get up and read and get up in front of people, and each time I didn't have a job at that time.
Yeah.
It was like it's either this or nothing.
Right.
So you better get up here and give them something to remember, you know?
Yeah, you
So,
find some courage. Like, is this your dream or not? Right? Like, if this is your
right.
dream, you get your happy ass up on that
Yeah.
stage. Bring it. You bring the best to yourself, man. You know what I mean?
That is perfect. Yes. Because
Oh,
especially for me, I had like my family was helping me with bills and different things. So it's like these people
yeah.
are putting all this into you and they're here. You better get up there and show them that you are who they think you are, you know?
Yeah.
So,
That support network is huge, right? And just having people encouraging you. I mean, that has to help with the bad days too, right? Like it's not
mm,
just me. Like, okay, look, there's people around me who believe in what I'm doing, who are encouraging me to keep going. Like this journey is even bigger than me. Like there's people investing in me. There's people reading these books. There's young people who are going to find them, maybe even long after I'm gone. Like I'm part of an extraordinary thing that's bigger than I can see, and I need to just like be the faithful servant of this work or something. You know what I mean?
literally. Yep. And I sometimes find it like when I'm like, I give the motivation on there. So I'll talk to people and I try to explain to them again, every author journey is different. I
Hmm.
can't speak to an author who is doing this with no support and just making it happen. I can't
Right.
speak to your experience or tell you how to deal with having no support because if I didn't have support, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village, right? A lot of the authors I speak with, they have, and myself included, most of my family hasn't read a word of my stuff.
Same.
Right. And it's
Same.
just like, but you can find some community on like TikTok and stuff. Like you'll find people, you can start building up a loyal kind of fan base that, they're willing to check out anytime you put out something new, or they're willing to make
Mhm.
videos about your books, they're willing to give you reviews. And um, I don't know, I take those wins. I feel like as human beings, we can get so focused on the things that are not going right and we can overlook so like these little wins, right? That you get a new review in the morning and you're like,
Yep.
oh, that's 5 stars. They wrote something. You like
Hmm.
take that win, run wild, celebrate. I don't know.
Right.
Embrace it. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. It's a
Oh,
task to do, but like you said, it's the little things that keep you going. Like, okay, just for Monday, like doing this today to me
yeah,
is like one. I said for 2025, I want to do more podcasts. I want to just talk to people, and I swear to you, bro, it all has come to me.
yeah.
So I am. I take that as a win. Like, okay, this is it. This is me getting everything I asked for. Let's enjoy it and let's be grateful for it, because you just
Right.
never know.
God, I believe in this whole manifestation thing. I talk about this a lot on the podcast, but
Mhm.
honestly, like if I go to sleep at night and I'm like talking to God and I'm like, hey, let's get some more book reviews. Like, thanks for the new YouTube subscribers. You wake up in the morning and you have new stuff
Right.
and you give thanks and like I don't know, like if you ask, you will receive. But there is we can't get caught up in this like, hey, we're alone on this journey and it's
Hmm.
all about me and my efforts and what can I do and what video can I make today and who should I reach out to and you get so focused on like I don't know, thinking that the whole thing is on your own shoulders and
Yep.
maybe that's the part we're missing. Like maybe if we got out of our own way, the book could actually exist kind of independent of us. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's tricky. Of what you've written so far, which one is your favorite?
Ooh. Yeah.
I
So
know.
who my favorite kid is? In front
My
of
favorite child.
everybody.
Hopefully, they're not going to watch this.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm sorry. I love my own work, but I'm gonna have to go with Fondest Keepers.
Okay.
Um, realistically, it's my favorite because one, I never thought I would write a fantasy novel with my best friend.
Right.
That's like, whoa, what? Okay, but
Yeah.
also. Short story. When I first wrote my first book, The Experiment, it was I called it The Experiment because I never wrote a book before, so it was an experiment. It was a poetry
Yeah.
book. And my grandmother, who I love so dearly, called me to say, I got your book. And I was like, oh my God, that's so great. And she goes, yeah, and I found the mistake. It's a mistake right there on page two.
Ah,
It's an S. On, it's like, oh my God.
that's the moms and grandmas be like, "Hey, love your book. Found a typo. It's
hmm
bad. It's real
And
bad."
then her final, like, we went through it. And then she goes in the end, she asked me, she says, so when are you going to write a real book? I was like, oh my God, this is someone who loves me, who's rooting
Yeah.
for me. This is support. So I'm like, I got you, Grandma. Don't you even worry about it. And in the moment, it was like a sting to the heart a little bit, like, wow, okay. But it gave me fire. And
Yeah.
it gave me, I don't think I would have written a novel. I would have just stuck with poetry. And because I can do that, sleep with my eyes closed. I can do that easily.
Yeah.
But Finders Keepers, that's something that we were roommates at the time. And,
Mhm.
he and I we came up with the idea back in 2016 and built on it all the way up until today. Like right now, we're working on the second book.
Wow.
So that's my favorite because it just has the most longevity in my life. Like it's been
Right.
around for so long. So
It's
yeah,
kind of walked beside you, and it's been evolving, and
yes, I've seen very different variations of it. It's been since I was, I mean, I'm not, since I was in my 20s. That's how I always describe it. So yeah.
right. And just collaborating with your best friend. I mean, that's damn cool. Like I'm still figuring out how to collaborate with another author. Like I'm trying to work with my friend Lynn Taylor.
Okay.
Um, but it's like tricky because you got like, I don't know, I'm always pulled in five directions with life and different stories I want to write. And then you're like even balancing the different, creative visions people have. It's tough to collaborate. I mean, I know people do it, but it's an art form in and of itself, you know what I mean?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
definitely it's nonstop, and I always say it's easy because I do this with my best friend. If
Right.
I did this with someone that was maybe a friend, like he and I know how to talk to each other. So if I don't like something or he don't like something, we know how to say it where the other one may not feel so hurt about it.
Right.
And there's
And
no
you could
ego,
Yeah, and you could get together, have a beer, and like spitball. You know what I mean? Like
literally.
it's like we're not doing this from a distance. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we'll just talk. Yeah,
Yesterday we watching the we're on the phone talking about it, but we're watching the Knicks game in the middle of talking about it, like stuff like
yeah.
that.
You can just sort through the problems and stuff.
hmm
Hey, quick story. Thinking about your grandma. So my mom does that same thing to me. She'll text me like, "Hey, did you see you had a bad review?" And I'm like, "No, I was having a good day. I was having a good day, ma. Thanks. I'm real glad. Can you just start with like hello?" You're like,
I'm sorry.
I'm like, "What the
Oh
hell, ma?
man.
Like, like let's focus on the wins here. You know what I mean?"
Yes, please,
Oh
please. I'm
God,
trying to. So
that's like moms and grandmas. I don't know. Some of like,
yes, it's they want to protect you, so they're trying to tell you, hey, fix this next time, but they're like saying it so blunt and it's like so out of nowhere that it just, oh, okay. Wow, I look fat today.
they
Thank you
kind
for
of
telling me that.
maybe ease me into it a little bit. Give me like maybe preheat the oven. Like we should talk about your books. Like,
Right.
like
Get
hey,
or get give a compliment first and then kind of,
yes,
hey,
the
by the
old
way.
slap and tickle or something. Like give me one compliment and then we can talk about harsh things. But I am flattered. Like she's checking every day. Like hey, new reviews and she's reading all of them. I'm like okay, that's cool. That's a
Right.
loyal fan base.
Right.
Oh, hey, so in terms of the sequel for Finders Keepers, do you have a release date or like where are you at in the process?
So we are in the last chapter,
Oh,
literally. This is
okay.
the this is the end. We are if I could really quickly,
Yeah, yeah, please.
this this Finders Keepers book was originally this. It was this. It was this big old Bible that we call it. um, what happened? It when we got it, it was this heavy in a book and big. So we didn't want this. We wanted something that people could hold and things like that. We tried to make
Yeah.
it smaller, and it was too many pages, over 1,000 pages.
Whoa, okay.
So we had to break this up into three books. So
Yeah.
The first book is the first half of this, the first section. The second book is the middle of this.
Okay.
So everything that we've been writing comes from here, and this is the source work for it and how we're getting everything done at this time.
So everything is like, okay, splitting up, expanding, like editing.
Yep.
Now that we're becoming better writers by the day, and we'll circle back on something we wrote a few years ago and like, okay, yeah,
Literally, it's that process all the time, and
right.
making it make sense because when you have a full book, like we this book is 10 chapters. These are the first 10 chapters of the bigger one.
Yeah,
And that 10 in the Bible, as we call it, it was good, but it only works when you have another 17 chapters after it. It doesn't end a book well. So
right.
we had to figure out how to end the book, how to start things, how to start the second book, and all of that turned into changing the entire Bible to a whole nother series, situation now. But
No, that's a real thing. Even like you think of like Game of Thrones and they turn it into a show and it's like, okay, when does the season end, right? It's
mhm,
like it's a much longer story, but like what is a good concluding point for like book one or season one or this moment? And then I'm
right,
sure you have to kind of like reweave some things to be like, okay, it's this is a natural cliffhanger or something. There's
mhm,
some moment where like we can drop it for now and there's a lot of big questions answered, a lot of big questions unanswered. And
right.
this is a good place to draw that line, right?
That's the main thing is assuring it's a good story. Number one, that's
Right.
my main focus. But for both of us, making sure our characters are still because we create two characters after ourselves. We try to
Yeah.
do two people pouring into one character. It doesn't work. Not for
Right.
us at least. So
He's a little schizophrenic. He's like, it feels like
it
he's got different personalities.
definitely, and you got, it's like, well, I want this and you want that. So how do we assure that everybody gets what they want in this story? Like, we can't do
Right.
it through one person. So
No, it's got to be multiple characters. Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
You want to give me the pitch on Finders Keepers? What is it about?
Oh, okay, that's no problem. So,
Yeah,
Finest
yeah.
Keepers is about a race of gods called Amoyans. Okay, they are from their planet Umoya that was destroyed due to civil war. They're gods with extreme power. So they destroyed their planet, destroyed each other, and a couple of them were just floating through the galaxy and ended up on Earth. They ended up on Earth before human civilization began, and as human civilization took place, there was a bond between the gods and the humans. The humans did what humans do and eventually learned how to kill the gods and started doing that. So from there, the gods they moved and they cut themselves off. They isolated themselves behind the Bermuda Triangle, which is why we
Okay.
can't get past it today.
Okay.
And from there, when they got to Earth, they lost their power, so
Hmm.
they began doing rituals, trying to figure out how to get it back. And then eventually there was one man who found a quest that got him back his power. And then everyone from there began doing this quest to get their power back.
Okay.
Centuries later, we are now with our main characters, Kane and Cairo, the princes. They are now preparing to go on this quest that their father created for all civilization. And in the middle of it, they have to deal with all of the family drama and all the history that's been going on.
Okay. I like that.
Thank you. All right. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
No, I'm into it. I'm into it. And I love supernatural stuff. I love mythology. And I also love this whole like intermingling with human beings, right? You have, I don't know, these kind of immortal, powerful beings, and they've got to mingle with humanity. And it even sounds like they kind of get a second chance because they destroyed their own home world and they're like, okay, we're on Earth. How do we do things differently and not end up in the same place? And but they, of course, they bring their drama with them, right? Like whatever
Everywhere.
conflicts, civil wars,
Every day, every
whatever
time.
wasn't sorted out comes along with them, and it plays out as Earth is a battlefield and humanity caught in the middle, usually.
Literally.
Yeah. No, I'm into that. I'm into all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're finishing up book two. Do you guys have a release date or
Not
just
at the
like
moment.
yeah,
Simply but the release I'll be honest, the release date in our minds was April 20th.
yeah,
Um that was a good time to be done. It was WrestleMania weekend for me, so it was a good time
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have
yeah.
everything handled. But I think just with life and my own stuff going on, and my partner,
Yeah.
he's a married man with two kids.
It's tough. Yeah.
He's got a lot going on, you know. So
Yeah.
we both kind of have those times where it's like I'm on the uphill, I'm up here writing, I'm really going good, and then it might switch where he's doing very good writing and I'm not doing too much at the time. It's
Right.
so it's was that process of trying to figure out, okay, well, it can come out on April 20th just because we want it out, but is the story good? You know?
Right. Yeah. Like just releasing it just to do it. Because like if you put out the right thing, I mean, it lives forever, right? So like if it gets delayed by a couple months, even a year, it's
Hmm.
like so what, right? I mean, this thing will be if the story is great, it could exist forever.
Right.
So like what is a couple months, right? But I do believe in aiming small and missing small because as artists, it's so easy to put things off, man. It's so easy to just like, oh,
Yeah.
when I feel inspired, I'll do the thing. And you like kind of you have to treat it like a business to a degree that you're like, all right, I'm sitting down, I'm writing, this is my, yeah.
I get it. That's the this we have a bit so we do have a we run a business together,
Mhm.
and for the longest it was just about being creative art. He was doing music or does music. My thing was writing the books. So that's what it was going to be. And
Mhm.
when I took time off from working, it was figuring out how to build the business, and my portion of the business had to be built through being an author.
Right.
That's where TikTok came. That's where, doing the book signings came because we did them together. But to me, I still needed to be able to stand up on my own 2 feet in the business and say, this is what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
So that being, having those book signings, but having the time to really reach out to people and say, get used to telling people I'm an author. Like, people like,
Yeah.
oh, what do you do? I'm an author. That's it. You know,
Just that's the answer and
I'm
and
just an
stand
author.
behind that, like keep your head up and stand behind that, like be
Literally.
proud. Yeah. Uh, I'm into that. Hey, we have 2 minutes left. I know Zoom usually kicks us out suddenly. So, Maurice, for sure, I'm going to put all of your links in the description here. So, anyone interested in checking out his books, following him is awesome. High vibe. Highly recommend following him. It always gets me hyped up and back on the track when the train is a little off the tracks. I'm like, all right, I'm getting re-inspired here. So, for the last 2 minutes, you put out a great video that was about getting out in the community that you because a lot of authors are introverts and hermits.
Hmm.
And they're just like, I want to like kind of write my book and then just quietly kind of go away. And you're like, no, 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 get out
That's
in the community, like make build relationships. You know what I mean?
hmm
You want to
that's
expand on it? Yeah, yeah,
that's the most important thing to me. Especially not going to keep going back to it, but like when I wasn't working, what kept me alive were the relationships. What kept me alive was reaching out to strangers I didn't know, talking to people. These are the things that got me where I'm going. If you look at even my TikTok, how that grew, one of my friends from elementary school, she saw I wrote a book and she said, I want to promote it. And then she did. And then I got 1,000 followers within like a week or two. So
yeah,
you literally have to. It is not going to sell itself. And if you're not the person who is like, I'm an extrovert, I could talk in front of people, I get that. There still has to be some form of marketing though. And
yeah.
sometimes it's just saying hi to people and talking to them and telling them what you do.
Yeah. Suck it up and get out there, and because I mean, all art is about connection, right? So like,
Right.
if you're not connecting,
You're
it's not
you're
going
doing it
anywhere.
for other people. You're not writing a book just for you. So you have to
Right.
kind of.
And it's only as valuable as the people valuing it, right? So like
Right.
you got to get it in front of people, and yeah. No, this has been powerful. I pull clips from the show. I'm gonna have a lot of clips from this show. I gotta tell you, this was cool, man. We're like laughing. We got high vibe, high energy, good advice.
Yes.
Like